This is the audience for my persuasive speech with their handouts. Hi, I am Andrea, and I am going to talk to you today about capital punishment. Capital punishment is basically a legal death sentence for crimes that are committed. Capital punishment has been a part of our history for hundreds of years and came over from the English settlers that came and settled in the United States. Currently, it is legal in 35 states and was most recently abolished in Connecticut in 2012. In your handout, if you can turn to page 2, you will see that between 1966 and 1994, the support for capital punishment has fluctuated between 42 and 80%, with total executions since 1976 totaling 1,321. This information came from deathpenaltyinfo.org, which is a website. On page 4, you will see forms of capital punishment over the years. These have included hanging, the electric chair, firing squad, gas chamber, and most commonly used today, lethal injection. Why should we support capital punishment? Moral Choices, which is a text by Scott Bray, talks about the case of Timothy McVeigh. Timothy McVeigh was a domestic terrorist. He killed 168 people by bombing the federal building in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He was executed for his crime in 2001 by lethal injection. Would you agree or disagree with this sentence? What if it was your husband, father, mother, daughter, son, or toddler that was in the building that Timothy had bombed? I ask you to consider that capital punishment is appropriate for crimes committed resulting in purposeful death of another human being. The support for capital punishment. First, we will look at the victims of these premeditated violent crimes. We will look at the structure and boundaries that it provides to society, as well as biblical support. For victims' families, sometimes capital punishment can provide closure for the pain that they've endured. It can also provide comfort that the criminal will not be able to commit the same crime to another individual again, and it may aid them as they move forward in their lives. In regards to society, capital punishment provides some structure and boundaries and allows for the criminal to have a consideration of consequences for their actions. This may not be a proven consideration, but it's something we can hope for. It also helps the typical population that is law-abiding to know that there are consequences for actions if individuals choose to do these sorts of crimes. Capital punishment is also supported biblically. In Genesis 9:6a, it says, "Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed." In Exodus 20:13, it says, "You shall not murder." And in Numbers 35:30, it states that anyone who kills a person is to be put to death as a murderer only on the testimony of witnesses, but no one is to be put to death on the testimony of only one witness. We again see capital punishment played out in the New Testament when Christ was crucified on the cross. He also had two thieves on either side of him. And although Christ had not committed any murders, and the thieves next to him we do not believe necessarily had committed any murders, they were all dealing with a form of capital punishment. Now that we understand some of the reasons to support capital punishment, which include victims' families, biblical support, societal boundaries, we must consider those who say capital punishment is inhumane. A criminal may experience a life change while they're in prison. And what about witnesses? Some will say capital punishment is wrong or inhumane Some will say that capital punishment is inhumane. To this, we must remember that what they have done to their victims is also inhumane. In regards to experiencing life change, we have examples of Carla Faye Tucker Brown, who is referenced in Moral Choices by Scott Ray. She became a Christian after committing a double murder. She gracefully accepted her sentence, knowing that it was the penalty for her crime. And when we consider, again, biblical support, we must remember that God's word supports capital punishment. So now that we understand some of the arguments that people bring to the table regarding capital punishment, let's review again the strengths of our pro-capital punishment case. Capital punishment provides appropriate consequences for appropriate crimes. It may help to bring closure to criminals' families and protecting society in the future. And it's biblically mandated by God in the Bible. As you consider your position on capital punishment, I would urge you to consider seriously the crimes of Timothy McVeigh. Even more recently, in the last 2 weeks, Christopher Dorner, who killed police here in California, or other local crimes that have affected you, your family, the community you live in, and consider supporting capital punishment.